And as Katie exits, enter our paper reviewers now. Time to go through them once again with the UK editor of The Big Issue, Paul McNamee, and international business expert Alison Stewart-Allen. Welcome back to both of you. So from entertainment to more serious matters in the papers. And Alison, you've picked out a story inside The Guardian. This is about US tourists actually being beneficiaries of a weaker pound. People here struggling, of course, but there are some people enjoying the currency's dips, you could say.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there's an expectation now that Americans will up their frequency of visits, and also more Americans more widely will come to the UK because of the exchange rate being in the dollar's favor at the moment, and perhaps for this foreseeable future. And this must be good news, because the article suggests that Americans spend 3 times more when they travel to the UK than domestic holidaymakers who stay in the UK, and every little helps. So having American dollars or pounds being spent here, it has to be a good thing. It means for the hospitality sector around the country, not just London, that they really need to cater to the US market and the US visitor. Having written a book called Working with Americans, I would definitely advise that these hospitality and tourism businesses make sure that they don't use the word bespoke. We don't have that word in American English, but that to cater to the Americans, you just need to make sure you have king-size beds, show generosity, and be very responsive. We like to think that you've put something together just for us. So I think that's good news. I think it's a good news story to help at this very tricky time for companies in these sectors.
Well, yeah, I mean, really difficult times, challenges for so many people, and you pick up on an element of that, Paul, with an article that you found in the Daily Mail, which reflects the fact that energy prices, of course, go up again today. There is a support package in place, but it still means rises for most people, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, this is not going to come as a surprise to anybody. We know that it has been coming. We've been fearing it coming, and it's one thing that the government have got right in recent weeks, and that is help for people, both domestic and businesses, to keep down the unit price of electricity and gas. But today is the day that it goes up. It goes up quarter higher again than it was in the summer, 34p per unit of electricity, 10.3p per unit of gas. And as has been made clear by you this morning, by others, this does not mean that bills are capped at 2,500, but rather that the energy unit price is capped, and the bill, hopefully, for average households will be at 2,500. But the other thing with this is all the wider ripples that this brings into society, that's turning into massive waves. Warm banks. The idea of a warm bank that Martin Lewis noted earlier in this summer, it seemed incredible. And now it's so normalised that people are talking about where the warm banks are. It's such an indictment on where we are as a society that people have to gather in public buildings in order to keep warm. Today's the first day of it, and the winter is going to be hard for so many.
Yeah, indeed. Lots of pressures on people at the moment. It's absolutely true. We're going to get more and more of those stories, aren't we, as time goes on. Alison, let's turn to a totally different issue. This is in the Times, and this is supermarkets having to kind of reorganise their shelves. Explain why.
Yes, well, new legislation has come into effect to try to make sure that unhealthy foods are at least 2 meters away from the checkout, from the till. But then the confusion comes in deciding what's an unhealthy food. So is it sugar and fat? Is it preservatives? And the problem is that it isn't completely clear. So consumers who are going into stores looking for their favorite items are wondering now, well, where has it gone? Why are some items that most would deem maybe unhealthy, such as breakfast cereals with added sugar, why are some of those still close to the till, while others that would be maybe healthier seem to be different. So you go into your store and now you're not going to be absolutely sure where the end of aisle display is, which aisle your products are on that you're faithful to and loyal to. And I think it's going to just cause much more confusion when, in fact, maybe the better answer is just to educate shoppers about what is a healthy food and what is not a healthy food, and leave it to the shopper to make the decision rather than the retailer.
What do you think about this, Paul? I mean, I think supermarkets do reorganise themselves occasionally so that people run across stuff they wouldn't normally get. Anyway, what do you think? I mean, is this the way to try to encourage people to eat more healthily?
I think that the societal nudges in order to help people eat more healthily are perhaps down a list at the minute, with the need to eat and the need to get cheap food so that people can sustain themselves at present. I think that while this is interesting and it talks to wider problems and wider pressures, because obesity then will have impact on the NHS and diabetes and so forth, that I think is secondary now. The people want to get in, find the cheapest food that they can get to get their family through, and this feels like it's sort of nudging around the edges rather than dealing with any major problems.
Yeah, interesting. And there have been some suggestions that the government might even review this kind of healthy eating strategy anyway. Well, that's yet to be confirmed. Paul, meanwhile, there was an article inside, I think this is the I can't see my list. It's about the Prime Minister attending a new European group that's been formed. So tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, it is in the I. This is Emmanuel Macron's European political community, the EPC, that he has put together. EU Plus, and it's essentially a meeting. It's a 2-day meeting that's happening in Prague later this week, and it's EU nations plus other nations that Macron's trying to bring into some kind of political economic tent. Armenia, Iceland, Israel, the Balkan states, and because the UK is clearly outside of the EU now, he wanted to bring them in. Initially, Liz Truss had said that she didn't want to go. And of course, she'd said that the jury was still out on Macron. I wonder what he will say when he sees her. But now she's decided she does want to go. It makes sense. I can't see how Britain could not attend this, given that it wants to be global Britain. This is something of a global get-together. But it does raise questions. And people will say, why did we vote to go outside of the EU when at first chance you're getting to EU Max, EU Plus? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a positive move for the UK, but it does raise interesting questions. And it does show that Macron, now that Merkel has exited the stage, is the major power broker in Europe.
Yeah, well, interesting one to watch again. And now let's turn to a story, Alison, in the Daily Mail, returning to some coverage about the royal family in the aftermath of the Queen's death, of course. And this is a story about the Queen Consort and how she might change things.
Yes, well, she is planning on removing the idea of ladies in waiting. And historically, this is a wonderful tradition, but in an attempt to modernize the monarchy, the Queen Consort is wanting to have a leaner operation. She and King Charles have both been very vocal in public on the fact that they think the monarchy not only needs to modernize, but also slim down. So she won't have ladies in waiting per se. She still has staff. They are on a paid basis, whereas ladies in waiting were not paid. They were volunteers who were appointed, if you like, by the Queen or King in the past. And I think it's just really about signaling that the monarchy is moving forward with the times and wants to be seen as a maybe more current organization rather than having some legacy accessories or features in today's modern world.
I didn't know what a lady-in-waiting did. Apparently they dealt with everything from public and personal correspondence, organising the royal diary, accompanying the monarch to engagements, collecting flowers. Anyway, we're out of time. Really lovely to see you both this morning. We've covered so many subjects. Thanks both. See you soon.